welcome to everyone. And what I want to do this afternoon is, first of all, I briefly introduce why do peer assessment, and then I'll move into the features of our app that was created for this purpose, and the four different features I want to share about the that we added on for this purpose. And then lastly, the incoming year two students have been using this for 1 year. They had a trial for block 4, block 5, especially block 5 is a more major trial. And so I'm going to show you the responses from the survey done with them after that they have completed the block 5. Okay, so let me start. But when I'm speaking, you can actually interrupt me if you want. Just interrupt me if you want. Okay. So for anything. All right. So let me start. And so we know that we have been doing as a PBL assessment through the FACI, right? The FACI has been grading the students all along. And over time, people, including us, have seen that the FACI grading sometimes have a bit of variation because some FACI tend to give more, some may give less. So overall, there is some variation that's been seen over the years. Yeah. And the other thing is that it's been reported that for medical students, when they do peer assessment, they actually improve their PBL performance and improve their professional behavior component of the PBL performance. So, and then now peer evaluation is considered a good skill to have, a skill that you may need in your workplace now. So it's one of the newer skills that people may need nowadays. And then lastly, when you grade, you have some ownership of your grading, right? You don't just let the FACI do everything. Now you have some ownership. So taking ownership is part of student-centered learning. In student-centered learning, students take responsibility and ownership for their own learning. In this case, is for assessment. So for all these reasons, it is good to introduce peer assessment into PBL grading. But PBL grading that we do is considered alternative assessment. It's alternative because we are not grading the microbiology or the pharmacology, but we are grading the skills, right? We are grading skills like teamwork, communication, making hypotheses, teamwork, professional skills, other professional skills. And so this type of skills come under alternative assessment because they are measuring or assessing the kind of skills that you want them to have in the workplace, which are also in our learning outcome. So by assessing these skills, you're also nurturing these skills, which is the skills we want our students to have. And so this is constant part of alternative assessment. And the one who's doing it is the FACI, right? The FACI has been doing it and it's considered alternative assessment. And so this type of PBL alternative assessment can be done by peers or done by self-monitoring, or for us, it's done by tutor or FACI, right? So traditionally, these are the three different ways to assess. And so we are now trying to introduce peer for all the reasons that I mentioned earlier, to introduce peer assessment. And the rubric that we're using, you can see here, is basically the same rubric as the one used by the FACI to evaluate the students. So basically, the students will be using the very similar, basically identical rubric being used by the students to assess each other. Okay, so I'm now going to come to the features of our peer assessment app. This app is done developed with the help from two lecturers from Faculty of Computer Science, Prof. Alam and technologist Nufauza. Okay, some people think that peer assessment doesn't work because people are afraid to grade, because they're afraid of the repercussion of grading. So people know what mark you're grading them, then it's not nice, and they don't dare to give the right mark. So for this reason, we create an app where it's confidential. You have to use your Unimas ID to go in. So it's a confidential way to grade, and then you give the grades to your friends, but you don't know what your friends are giving you. You know the final mark, but you don't know what your friends are giving you. You only know what you give to your friends, right? So the grading becomes confidential. And also convenient because it's an app, so you can use it anytime, any place, as long as there is internet connection. And students say it takes about 10 minutes to grade. 10 minutes, it's not a very long time. So it's easy to use, confidential. And some people think that when you do peer assessment, the friends will give each other high marks. So it's not a real assessment because it's just friendship. And so to try to reduce that, we set these rules. The rules we set is, you can see the circle on the right there. The full marks is 10. You can give full marks of 10, 0 to 10. You can give full marks of 10 only 2 times, not more than 2 times. You can give 1 time, 0 times, or 2 times, but not 3 times. Any other grade like 9, 8, 7, any other grade you can give maximum of 4 times. 4 times. Like for example, you give 10, 10, 9, 9, 9, 9, 8, 8. You cannot give 10, 10, 10 to every single person. This encourages the spread of the marks and encourages the students to think carefully who deserves the higher marks. You know, and then find yeah, if you were to break the rule, then they get a message on the app saying that you already given enough, you already given like 9 marks to 4 people already, so they have to change. At the bottom there, you can see the final average mark at the bottom. So the final average mark they get is the average of all the marks given by the other 9 students. So some of them may be friends, some not friends, but they get the marks average from all the 9 students, right? So this is a small way in which we try to help the marks to become average and to prevent the high concentration of high marks to give to each other. And third one, you can see here, this is my screen. There's week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So in this, you can see that in every week, there is a mark given to the student, right? So therefore, they are doing grading every week. They are giving marks to their peers every week after PBL. The importance of doing this, instead of doing 1 time or only 2 times, is that when you measure skills, you need to measure repeatedly to get a more fair assessment. If you measure knowledge, you can just give a test one day and you don't have to repeat the test tomorrow. But when you measure skills like communication, teamwork, you need to take repeated snapshot in order to give a better chance for the students to be showing their real capability. Because on 1 week, for some reason, they may not be able to display their communication skill or the teamwork skill, but in another week, they may be better. So you need to give for grading of skills, you need more than 1 time. So we here proposing every single week, and then the final mark on the right hand side, the app will calculate an average of the 5 weeks, right? So the final mark that they get is also an average of all the weeks. If in 1 week they do very poorly, then the next week they can compensate for it because the final mark it will be an average of all the weeks that is being graded. So the facilitator has access to this app. They can see the students keying
William,
in
sorry, can
the
I
grade.
interrupt? Can I interrupt,
Yes,
William?
yes.
Candidate number one, the complete average mark is now divided by 3 or divided by 5. Huh?
Are you reading something there?
Yeah, I'm
Wrong?
reading your screen that you're showing candidate number one, number one, Shah Jahan
Yes.
Tra.
Yeah.
He apparently got 2 zeros.
Yeah.
2 zeros for some reason he has got 0 there. So therefore, there's a reason why he got 0, or he
Uh,
really
uh, this is a trial. And in the trial, some people did not take part. So this is not a good screen to show you. You can ignore the number one student. Just ignore him.
okay.
Ignore
Then
him.
okay.
Yeah, but
Okay,
later,
that's
actually,
fine.
let's say I'll come back and I'll come back very soon to talk about the absent. But ignore the number one. Ignore the number one.
Okay. So when you say that average means that means if there's 5 weeks, it'll be divided by 5 lah. The cumulative mark would be divided by 5.
Yes. So every week is divided by 9, and at the end of block is divided by 5.
Okay.
Yeah. So the faculty can go in if they want to look at the input, whether who has key in, who has not key in, and the faculty can also see this view. This view is a final mark view. So faculty has access to all this if they want to see it. And finally, formative assessment is the one that can help people improve, right? Formative feedback. So we incorporate formative feedback in the final week. So in the final week, they don't grade each other by grades just before the EOP exam. In the final week, they do PBL, but then they are going to not give grade but give comments. So this is the final week one where they have to give a comment to each of the other 9 friends. One thing I appreciate about you, and one thing I request from you. So you can see here the screenshot from the student. They are seeing the comments that their friends gave to them, right? They cannot see the other people's. They know what they give, but they cannot see what the other people gave them. So these comments are given to them without any name, without any name, and so they encourage them to help to tell their friends how they can further improve for the next block, right? So there's some formative feedback before the next block. So basically, one thing I request from you lah. The one thing I appreciate about you is just to set up the positive mood before you talk about the things that you want to request. Okay. So one thing I appreciate about you, I appreciate your detailed explanation. One thing I request from you, I request that you give more chances for others to speak. All right, something like that. Okay, so that I'll come back to that again. So right now you're in the front screen where you check your year, your block, your group number, and the week number, week 1, week 2, right? So when a student goes in using their ID, they will go in and then they look at the name of the friends. The blue mark means you have to grade them. You don't. The number 8 is the student who is looking at this. So number 8 is blank because he cannot grade himself. So he's going to look at all the other blue color where he's going to grade one by one, give a grade to each of his friends. So when you click on the first student, he will see the rubric and he will decide how many marks to give for that student based on each rubric, right? Give 2, give 4. But before they start, they have to decide first in this week who is the top scorer, who is the second and third. They have to think of that first before they start to actually grade the students. So when they come to grade it, they are looking at the rubric. So the last rubric, so give the marks. Finally, when they finish the rubric, they click save. They click save and they go back to the second student. And they do that until they finish all the other 9. They finish all the 9 students. And they click save. And then they'll see the complete sign. I don't see here. They'll see the sign complete. When they see complete, then they can go. Because of internet lagging, they are encouraged to see the word complete before they go. Otherwise, it may be lagging and not complete. So they need to finish grading every single student before they stop. Okay, coming soon to what Ashley mentioned. So all students must grade to get the weekly mark. The app will calculate the weekly mark. To calculate the weekly mark, you need 9 people to grade you, right? And you need to grade 9 people. Otherwise, the system cannot calculate. And so to make sure that you can get a weekly mark before you move to the next week, because next week is another mark, right? So you must finish your mark this week before you move to the next week, right? Week by week. So you must complete your marking. So because of that, they can start grading right after Friday. So after Friday or Thursday PBL, they start grading. We also said that you can give a grade even though you're absent on Monday or Friday. As long as you're present on one day, you can use that one day to grade your friends. If you don't allow them to grade just because they're absent for one day, it becomes very complicated. So better let them grade even though they're absent on one day, or Monday or Friday. They still can start to grade starting from Friday. So I said that every week the system must complete the markings to record your mark for that week. So if you forget to mark, then you come to PBL on a Monday, then hopefully the PBL on Monday will remind you that you forgot to mark the next week. And so the deadline actually is Monday midnight, right? If you forgot to mark on Friday, you forgot on Saturday, you forgot on Sunday, then by Monday you should remember because you're coming to the next PBL and you have until midnight to do your grading. So hopefully that's the automatic reminder for in case anyone forget to grade for the previous week after the Friday. Okay, now we come to the absence, right? So there's a Monday midnight is the deadline, isn't it? Because if you don't have a deadline, you cannot finalize the grade for that week. If anyone is missing on Monday and Friday, missing means absent for no good reason, okay? Missing. If you're missing, you cannot grade people because you don't know what the performance is like. People also cannot grade you because they did not see you. So if you're missing and you don't grade, by Monday midnight, the system will allocate 0 to you because you're missing, right? And the rest of the students, the system will reduce the number by 1. So now everybody will be divided by 8. Instead of divided by 9, they're divided by 8 so that their scores are not affected by your absence. Right? One person is missing already, divided by 8. Whereas the absentee person for that week will be allocated 0. Okay. But what if you're absent because you are good for good reason, like you're sick or you have permission from the dean? So that is when the absence we need to intervene. If your absent is for poor reason, you don't have to do anything. But if your absent is for good reason, we need to intervene. So the way now is that we can ask the students when they are meeting on Friday, they will discuss among themselves. The person who's missing for this week, Monday and Friday, not only one day. Remember, one day is okay. Missing for 2 days. The students in that Friday discussion will confirm to each other that this student is missing for acceptable reason. Is acceptable reason, then the chairperson will text the peer assessment coordinator and say that please authorize absence for John, right? Please authorize absence for John because he's absent because of MC. And then the peer assessment coordinator probably on Friday would go into the app and authorize the absence The other person who can authorize absence is the FACI because the FACI can also access the app, right? But this is we make it optional because some FACI may not want to do it. So if the FACI wants to do it, then during the Friday, the FACI himself or herself already know that student is absent for a good reason. The FACI himself or herself can already go in and authorize. So maybe what the students can do is the students can say, sir, doctor, are you going to authorize absence or we ask the coordinator? So the FACI can say, you ask the coordinator, all right? Or the FACI can say, I will do it. Either way, the student chairperson would ask and make sure either the FACI or the coordinator will authorize the absence. Okay, so but if the person is absent for bad reason, there's no need to do anything. The system will reset by itself. If absent for a good reason, then that person will have his number of weeks reduced by 1. If it's 5 weeks, right? For him, only 4 weeks, so that he's not penalized. All right. Later, he's divided by 4 weeks only. He's not present for all the 5 weeks, but only 4 weeks. Whereas the friends will be reduced that week, reduced by 1. Instead of 9 people, becomes 8 people. So the friends are not affected, and the student who is sick also not affected, right? Because his week is reduced by 1. But if you're absent for bad reason, then you get 0 for that week, but your friends are not affected. Okay, illustrate this. So on the top, you see the approved absence. That's because the person absent for 2 days, and the chairperson already texts the coordinator to approve the absence, and it looks like this. It looks like approved absence, or the FACI can do that as well. Whereas at the bottom, you can see that there's a red absence there, right? So that's when the person is absent for no good reason for two sessions, and the system itself reset into an absence for that person, and the other friends are not affected. I hope that's clear. The two type of absence. Ashley, is that okay? Clear to you?
Yeah, I have another question regarding this absence. What if Monday session and Friday session, if one of it only is absent and then the other one, the person was present, how does that work?
Okay, so whether you're absent on Friday only or Monday only, we allow them to grade. If you don't allow them to grade, it's very complicated. So on Friday, you will grade based on what you remember on Monday, or else on Friday you grade what you see on Friday. You grade based on 1 day's observation only.
Got
And
it.
people grade you based on 1 day's observation only.
Okay, got it.
Okay. So very briefly, the overall on the left is the input. And so the coordinator will have to put in the year. At the beginning, we have to input all the students, 150 students. This one is not difficult because the system is linked to the, I don't know what I call it, the student enrollment, whatever, so that we can link the 150 students into the system. And then every block, there will be, okay, every block, and then every block will have to add in the new FACI. Every block the FACI changes. Every block will put in the new FACI and put in the weeks. Which week 1, week 2, week 3, all of them, the weeks will be different for every block. And the feedback week, I'll mention that later. Right, so all those input have to be put in before the block starts so that the student can start grading and the FACI can start to go in. And output at any time, the coordinator can see the input summary, who has graded, who has not graded, can see the assessment summary, what is the mark of each student, and can see the student final grade. Final grade is at the end of the block lah, right? So so at the end of the block, the coordinator would copy all the final grades and forward to the block coordinator, right? So that's the output of the system. For the student, every week you go in, log in using your ID, and you grade every peer. So for, let's say it's a 6-week block, right? So the first 5 weeks you grade according to rubric, right? But on the 6th week, the final week, you don't grade. Remember, you write down your comment for your friends. So on week 6, you are giving comments, not grading. Your grading already completed. The final grade has already been known by every student for themselves, and then they write down comments to help other people improve. And at the bottom, the FACI is optional. The FACI can go in and look at the input summary and look at the assessment summary of every week, and basically look at the final grade as well. And the FACI can also do the authorized absence, right? So these are the three components of the system. Okay, any question, comments about the system before I move on to the survey result of the students? Any comment on the workflow? Other issues regarding the workflow, the flow?
Who will input the students' names and the faces name inside the app?
Yes. So when the student go in, you saw just now, right? You saw just now, when the students go in, he or she will be able to see the name of all the friends,
No,
and one by one grade,
before that.
block by block. Only in week 1 you can see. Of course, the student name is the same in every block because same friends, right?
Yes,
But
who will input all the students' name and all the faces name inside the app?
okay, right now I'm getting the faculty of computer science to do it, and in future they said they want to transfer the job to us lah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at beginning of the year, they did the 150 student and the 16 group is done by them. But every block is done by us because we just create the new block. The group and the number of students is the same, right? We create the new block, new weeks. That was done by us right now. But in future, we should do everything lah. Yeah. Other question, comments? Okay, I show the result of the survey. You can feedback later again. And so we did the trial with 80% response rate. Okay, so we asked first question is, do you want to do peer assessment? Do you want to implement peer assessment into PBL grading? And we find that 2/3 either agree or strongly agree. Green is agree or strongly agree. About 24% was neutral, right? And only about 10% disagree. So overall, a vast majority agree or neutral, and 2/3 actually agree or strongly agree to implement peer assessment. On the right, we asked them about this app. Do you find the app useful and easy to use? About 71% easy, agree, strongly agree, 20% neutral. Again, less than 10% disagree. Right? So vast majority think the app is useful to use and easy to use. Next question. Did you improve your PBL performance because you grade other people? 74% agree, strongly agree that by doing peer assessment, themselves improve their performance. With about 16% neutral. I did ask one of the year 4, year 3 students. They said to me that because I did peer assessment, I can sense that my own performance has improved because they become more self-aware of their own performance as a result of grading others. And on the right, did you improve by reading the feedback of your peers? So 3/4 say agree or strongly agree. 16% 10 neutral, very quite not many disagree. So they actually improve as a result of the feedback of the peer as well. So there is this feedback formative assessment embedded into the summative assessment. So the final week become formative assessment, which actually help them improve every single block for the next block. Then the question is, we actually tell them that hypothetically it is 50% peer marks, 50% FACI marks. Hypothetically, it doesn't matter because it's only a trial, right? It's not real. So then we ask them, then how many percent do you want FACI marks to be? You can see the orange, the 50% share was agreed by 39%. The biggest group lah, but it's not the more than half the class though. It's the biggest group, and still below half the class who say I want 50-50. Then if you look at all those who want higher than 50-50, FACI must give more marks, 60 FACI, 70 FACI, 80 FACI, all the whole range lah. You can find that quite a large proportion actually wanted FACI to have a higher share of marks. If you ask those who wanted peer to have a higher share of marks, is 15%. And so the ones who wants FACI to have higher mark is outnumber the peer by 3-1. So if you look at the orange plus blue, that means that the vast majority either wants equal or more marks for the FACI. Okay? Only slightly more than half say they want equal or less mark for the FACI. So overall, the students are more favorable to let the FACI have a greater share, not half-half, greater share. So I think we take that into account. So now I want to ask them, if you want FACI to have greater share, then what is the share should the FACI have? So on the left is the half-half one, and we move from 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, right? And you can see there's a range of responses. The highest is the middle, 13.4% say they want FACI to have 80%, right? But it's basically more towards 70, 80 lah. 60, 70, 80 will be the higher parts, right? But don't forget, there's another 15% who wanted FACI to have lower marks, no? So based on this, I propose to let the peer assessment start with 70% to recognize the fact that more people want to have more for the FACI, but also some people actually wanted more for the peer. To start at 70%, start at 70% would I think reflect the students' vote lah. But in the future, after some time in the future, we can survey them again. Maybe in the future when they are more confident of the marks that they are getting, that maybe in future they might switch their decision to have more towards the peers. So because of that, I propose to begin with 70% FACI and 30% peer at the beginning, based on our incoming year 2. So my final slide. So basically for week 1 to week 5, every week they're going to grade their 9 friends, and every week they get a weekday grade. And finally, at the end of 5 weeks, they get a final grade, which is the average of 5 weeks. Whereas week 6, they don't grade. Week 6, they give feedback, and they read the feedback of their friends. So if a 6-week block, then week 7 is the end of block exam. So for our current continuous assessment of 20%, then in this case, based on the above, then the 10% PBL grading will be 7% FACI and 3% from the peer assessment to start with. So the grade that I'm giving the block coordinator, they will convert to 3%, right? And the grade they got from the FACI will be converted to 7%. So in summary, the incoming year 2 students are very familiar with this, and they are the one who voted to implement peer assessment. And basically the rules given in this round, the rules are supported by the majority, right? Supported by the majority of students, the rules that we set, except the one that we left it open is how many percent do you want FACI and how many percent we want peer. That one, point number 4, we give them 30% for peer to reflect the current class opinion. So in block 1, 2, 3 has very few PBL. It's very hard to implement this. We only have very few PBL. So I propose in block 1 to 3 is for practice. The block 1 to 3, the FACI will still have FACI grading, completely FACI grading, 5%, right? And no peer grading in the first 3 blocks. So first 3 blocks, we will introduce the app to the students and let them try. First 3 blocks will be trial of the app, and implement only in block 4 onwards. Block 4 onwards, and they'll be more ready to do it properly. And current students would implement at block 6 onwards, because they are already trial in the last previous academic year. So as I said earlier, the same assessment rubric as the FACI. And I said earlier that the involvement of FACI is optional. For those who want to involve, they can assess the student at any time, and they can look at the grade. They can also authorize absence. So I'll get a video made to share with the FESI for how they can use the app.
So you start with the login page, and with the login page you go in using the Unima single ID. So you put in your email name and your password. And this screen may be a bit different from the handphone screen. This is the PC screen. So you sign in, you go into the app, and you basically choose peer assessment. So you click peer assessment, and then so in peer assessment, the first page you see is actually the input by student. You're seeing now input by student. So all the students, you are in the Vaishnavi's page, so Vaishnavi doesn't input his own grade, but he gives a grade to every other student. Can you see that? He gives a grade to every other student. You can see the grade he gives. The third option is called assessment summary. In assessment summary, you look at the right hand side. At the end of 5 weeks, you can see the grade of every student. At the right hand side is the final grade of each student average over 5 weeks. So that's the second one. And the middle option is called input summary. Input summary is very important because it is the way you use to authorize absence. You can see that every student is complete already, except a few students are incomplete. So the incomplete students, you need to approve their absence. If you don't do that, they are going to get penalized for not grading for that week. So you go to Albert, is incomplete. You click on the blue icon. Click on the blue icon for Albert, and we are in Albert's page. So now we can choose to authorize the absence. So we choose approve absence. You see that? Approve absence. Approve absence. You can give the reason if you want. Albert was sick and all that, right? We need to do approve absence so he is not penalized for that week. So we save, and after we save, we can see that Albert has approved absence. All right, it's no more incomplete but approved absence. So we need to do that for those who are absent for good reason, like they are sick. If we don't do that, then they're going to get penalized for not grading for that week. And so every week there is 5 weeks of grading, and in the final week on the right is the comment week, right? Now we cannot read the comments that the students write for each other, right? So there's 3 things you have to do. You can see the input, student input by student if you want to see who has graded, and you can see the assessment summary for the final mark, and you can see the input summary. That's where you do